In this video, I'm going to be vibe coding with the newly released Qwen 3.7 Max from Alibaba. This model actually looks very promising. It dropped yesterday, and as you can see, it has an input price of $2.50 per million, output price $7.50 per million, and then a 1 million context window, which is actually very large for a Chinese model. It's the largest. So if you go down, the speeds on this are actually quite good as well, 53 tokens per second. So this actually looks more promising than any other Chinese model that we've seen. I've already put it through BridgeBench, so in this video, I'm going to be putting it through BridgeBench. I'm going to be putting it through my real vibe coding workflow, and then we're also going to be taking a look at some benchmarks here. But look at this. This is why this model is interesting. If you look at the coding index here, this is actually by far the best Chinese model now. Look at this on the coding index, 50.1. Kimi K 2.6, which was the previous best Chinese model, scores a 47.1 on this index, and then GLM 5.1 is way down here at 43.4. As you guys can see, what they've released here is they've released an affordable Chinese model that actually performs way better than Kimi K 2.6 and way better than GLM 5.1. So we definitely want to test this out on the intelligence index. It also performs well, 56.6. It's right up there with Gemini 3.1 Pro and Opus 4.7 Max. So this is quite impressive, and we want to put this to the test. So with that being said, I do have a like goal of 250 likes on this video. So if you haven't already liked, subscribed, and joined the BridgeMind Discord community, the home of the vibe coding movement, there's a link in the pinned comment down below as well as the description. But with that being said, let's get right into testing out Qwen 3.7 Max. All right, guys, so we are going to test this on two particular workflows. We're going to test it on some challenge prompts. So this one right here is actually building out a single HTML file of a first-person shooter game, but we are using Qwen Code. If you guys are familiar with Qwen Code, this is basically an open source project that is made by Alibaba, and this is their harness for Qwen 3.7 Max. So I just dropped in this first-person shooter prompt. The next prompt that we're going to drop in is a doodle jump game. It's an app, so this is going to try and one-shot an app. This prompt, you guys saw that, it's 26,000 characters. So look at that. Look at the speeds on that, pretty fast. But look at this. So 1 minute and 9 seconds so far on this. It created some to-dos. We'll see how fast it's able to get through that. But that's the doodle jump app. The next one is going to be a flight simulator app. So that's going to go down right here. So this one is 37,000 character prompt. That is a lot. But we're going to drop in 37,000 character prompt there. And then the last one is a Flappy Bird app. So these bottom two are building out apps. So they're building out React Native Expo applications that use native wind. And then the top two are just building out single HTML files. But what we can see so far is this is a fast model. It runs at 53 tokens per second on OpenRouter right now, which is relatively fast when you look at some other Chinese models. I think that when Kimi K 2.6 initially released, it was running very slowly, maybe 25 tokens per second, but that is not the case with Qwen 3.7 Max. And that's why I think that this could be probably the best Chinese model on the market, because it's a little bit more reliable. It's built by Alibaba, which is the Chinese Amazon basically. So they have more compute, which means that they're able to serve this in a more reliable way. And the model is also just faster in general. So let's let these do their work, and then we'll come back and check up on that. But with these working, let's now go past in some real vibe coding tasks that are bugs from the BridgeMind ecosystem. Okay, the first report that we're going to take a look at here is somebody is requesting that they're able to type in Korean into the BridgeSpace inputs. So I just pasted in his screenshot, I pasted in his report, and you can see that I just am having it do an in-depth review the code, review the bug report, and then create a structured plan to fix the issue. So let's drop this in, and we'll come back to this and see if it's able to get it. This one is going to be a little bit hard to see since I don't have a Korean keyboard in front of me, but we're just going to see. Look at this. It is fast. It already did the to-dos. So the to-dos here are review. Hold on, let me expand this a little bit. So the to-dos are review bug report screenshot and understand the Korean IME issue, explore BridgeSpace terminal code, find input handling, review Git history for previous Korean input fix, identify root cause of regression, and create structured fix plan. That right there is very good. That's exactly what you want to see in a to-do list. I like what we're seeing there. Let's go back over to this workspace where we're doing some of these fun prompts, and it looks like this one's almost done here. And I will say, Qwen Code is very similar to Claude Code. I'm curious to see if we can launch subagents. I just want to test this real quick. Let's just add the BridgeMind UI and see if we can launch subagents. I want you to launch 3 subagents to do an in-depth review of the SEO for this website and come back to me with a structured review. So I think that it should be able to do it. I feel like if you don't have sub-agents in 2026, do you have a good coding agent, right? Everybody's using sub-agents. Let's see if this one's able to, yeah, look at this. Launch 3 parallel SEO review sub-agents for BridgeMind, launching 3 parallel sub-agents to deeply review the SEO of BridgeMind across technical, content, and performance dimensions, which is perfect. I wonder what it looks like when it does launch the sub-agents though. Okay, look at this. It actually is asking for permission. So we have a technical SEO review agent, we have a content and on-page SEO review agent, and then we have a performance and infra SEO review agent. And these are all 3 agents. So this is actually a pretty good CLI. Now, the only issue that I have with this is that in order to get a plan, it was like a little bit funky. Like I had to set up the console. It was weird. It wasn't just, oh, I'm paying for a subscription. It was a little bit complicated. But let's go back over here and accept any of these changes that it wants to make. And honestly, we need to do always allow. But this is working well. It's very fast. I feel like at times when I've tried other Chinese models, especially at an initial release, the model will be very unreliable. If you guys remember the launch of GLM 5.1, that was probably one of the most frustrating launches I ever dealt with because GLM, whatever their API that serves their model, it's a complete mess. And maybe they've ironed it out now, but when GLM 5.1 initially dropped, I did buy like their $80 a month max coding plan, and I could barely use it. It was giving me 529s, it was giving me 401s, it was like a complete mess, and I could barely work with it. But Qwen here is doing a fantastic job. Okay, guys, I do have some outputs here, so let's try this first-person shooter game. Check this out. This is Dust Pull Outpost headshot. Let's go. Yeah, look at this. So the animations look decent. Look at the map. So this is a different map than anything I've seen from GPT 5.5 or Claude Opus 4.7. The characters are like, they look like people, but is there a way to switch my gun? Here's the RPG. Okay, there's the RPG. Honestly, guys, the animations and effects I don't think are as good as what I've seen from Opus 4.6. Can I actually go up these stairs? Not really, no. What about this? Is this like a ladder I can climb? See this? This looks like a ladder. Can I climb it? So I can't actually climb it. So I feel like it tried to do these things, but it wasn't able to actually do them super well. There's the animation on the RPG. I guess that's a little bit better. Hold on, let's try this. So there's the animation. Honestly, guys, I think that we definitely are getting better designs from Claude Opus 4.7. I think that Claude Opus 4.7 is hard to beat with designs. Let's pause this. I would rate that maybe like a 5 out of 10. It's not good. It's not bad. Here's the flight simulator. Oof. Okay, so there's this big black. Okay, this is not good. Look at how glitchy the sky is. This is not good. Okay, boom, crashed. Okay, so that's not good. Let's turn that off. Yeah, this is not great. I'm not a big fan of that. And then also, one thing that I saw before I even went to test those is look at this here. Do you guys see how it says insufficient credits? So when I started this session, I had $37 in my OpenRouter account because I'm connected via OpenRouter. And this now says 402 insufficient credits. So what I want to see is if these 4 agents in this conversation depleted $37 worth of OpenRouter credits. Let's go check it out. Check this out, guys. So with these 7 agents, I spent $43 on Qwen 3.7 Max, and not even all the agents finished their work. They were creating pretty basic stuff. This one was just doing a review. This one was updating that shortcut thing, and none of them even finished, right? So I had these 7 agents running, and some of them were doing the single HTML output. Some of them were creating just a simple app. Some of them were looking at the SEO, and it cost me $43, and that's why it just stopped all my agents. My OpenRouter account just went negative. So even though, and this is one very common thing with Chinese models, they claim, oh, this is so much cheaper, this is so much easier to do. But what I find ends up happening, I think that this is a really good example here, and I don't know if I necessarily want to even top this up. I did just add more money to my OpenRouter account, but if you look at this here, so this is the app that we were building, right? And if we expand this, you guys can see the current tasks. It's on, 9 out of 11. And what I find that the issue with these, like the open source models or the Chinese models, is that they end up actually costing way more money per task because they aren't able to do the tasks as efficiently, and they end up having issues. Even this one here, it says, I can see the TypeScript errors, let me fix them. So that what ends up happening is you get these errors because the model is not as intelligent. So even though it may say one thing on BridgeBench Pro, it ends up being like a very bad model that even if you're just this much off of that it factor that Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5 have, then you're going to run into this. Look at this. This one says, I have 15 errors. So with something like this, where it's, hey, this is a very simple app, MVP that you're building. I know Claude Opus 4.7 would have been able to one-shot this. I know that GPT 5.5 would have been able to one-shot this. But this one, because it ran into so many errors, it kept looping over itself, where, hey, this would have been done 10 minutes ago if we were using a smarter model. Look at this. I only hit 7.8% of my context used on this conversation. This one, 8.9% context used. This one, 6.8. This one, 7.7. But you guys can see that's not an insignificant amount of money. $43 to run 7 agents that didn't even get all the way through their tasks before we had to stop because it depleted all of my credits. So let me show you what I'm talking about a little bit more. So when you look at this chart, this is a benchmark on artificial analysis that shows the cost per task for these models. And what you guys are going to see is that Claude Opus 4.7 Medium scored right here. It cost $1.24 per task on average. And if you'll note, GLM 5.1 is way over here. It's way more expensive than Claude Opus 4.7, even though GLM 5.1 is way cheaper on the input and output cost per token. And the reason that this is way more expensive is because of what we just saw. Now, Qwen 3.7 isn't in this benchmark yet, but I think that if we were to look at this and say, okay, this one used like $40, and the reason that it costs so much to do this is because it did the app, it built the app, but then it had 15 TypeScript errors in it. Right here, I have 15 errors, right? So then it created this crappy app that had all these errors, so then it had to keep working, so that at the end of the day, to finish that task, it ended up being way more expensive than if we had just put it into the more expensive model from the start, right? And it's the same thing with Kimi K 2.6. If you look at Kimi K 2.6 on input and output tokens is 1/6 of the price of Opus 4.7. But if you look at this benchmark, you can see that they're literally right next to each other. That 1/6 cost advantage pretty much is non-existent when you're actually using it in real workflows. And that's what we're seeing with Qwen 3.7 and a lot of other Chinese models. With that said, let's take a look at BridgeBench and see some of the results here. So one thing to note is that Qwen 3.7 Max does very well in the security benchmark. It's tied for first with GPT 5.5 and Sonnet 4.6. It also did very well in the UI benchmark. Most notably, if you guys go over here, this is probably the best Flappy Bird output that I've seen. So this is a benchmark where pretty much it creates a Flappy Bird game, right? So look at this Flappy Bird game that it created. This is by far the best graphics that I have seen be produced on this Flappy Bird benchmark. So when you're looking at this, you're like, oh wow, like this is actually like, this is pretty much Flappy Bird. And if you go over to, let's go back over to Opus 4.7 here, and let's see, hey, how is the output for Opus 4.7 on that game? So where's Opus 4.7? Okay, Opus 4.7 is right here. So look at Opus 4.7 and how it did, right? I would say that it's similar. And you could say that, okay, Opus 4.7 did a similar job. I actually prefer the Qwen 3.7 one. I think that it did a little bit of a better job. But you can see that Qwen 3.7 is pretty much doing better output. It just gamified it a little bit more. I thought that the graphics and the animations were better. So my point with that is that, yeah, I think that the animations and the UI is actually pretty good. The problem is that price is just not worth it. Now on debugging, Qwen 3.7 Max also did very well here too. On that one task that I put in, it actually found our issue and was able to solve it relatively quickly. Now it was expensive because we were paying per token, and these Chinese models, they run into more errors and it's just harder to get tasks done, but it did find that bug. So it does very well. Now, in terms of hallucination, this is one area where it doesn't do great. If you look at hallucination, it scores a 10. So this is way behind Opus 4.5, Opus 4.6, Opus 4.7, Kimi K 2.6. It does do better than GPT 5.5 in hallucination though. Now the BS bench, this is one area where it's very interesting to see because Qwen models historically have performed very well on the BS bench. Here was Qwen 3.6 Max, and then here was Qwen 3.7 Max. So you can see that they do very well on pushing back against like nonsense prompts. So if they're given incredibly random or bad input, it's able to push back. And that's actually a very good aspect of this model. Now, speed, it's kind of like middle of the pack. It's right here, Qwen 3.7 at 13. It runs 120 tokens per second. So it's pretty much the same speed as Opus 4.7. They're right next to each other. But all in all, I think that Qwen 3.7, this is by far the best Chinese model that we're seeing. But the only issue is that we're still seeing some of these issues that we have with these Chinese models, which is they end up being more expensive per task than you would if you just use Claude Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5 from the start. I am not going to be giving this model the BridgeMind stamp of approval, and the main reason is this right here. I did this app, I built this app, and what does it come back to me with? I have 15 errors. Look at this. I have 15 errors. And when you're in a vibe coding workflow, this is a problem. I can't use a model that does something and comes back to me with 15 errors because it's going to make it more time consuming to actually complete the task that I gave to it. And it's also going to be more expensive. And with Qwen 3.7, hey, they don't have the same subsidies that we're getting with Claude Code or Codex from ChatGPT and OpenAI and Anthropic. We're just not getting the same subsidies. I spent $43 doing a couple tasks. $43, that's not nothing. And I was only vibe coding for like less than 15 minutes. So the fact that it was that expensive in such a short amount of time shows you that there is a huge problem here. If we go back to this artificial analysis coding index that I showed you at the start of the video, this is a big issue. You have Qwen 3.7 max at 50, while GPT 5.5 is at 59.1. That is a very large gap. So I think that at the end of the day, people need to understand that these Chinese models, they're doing distillation, they are getting better, and Chinese models are getting closer and closer. But the problem is that they just don't have that it factor. And even though they claim that they're way cheaper on the input and output, it ends up being more expensive to get your tasks done, and it takes way longer to get your tasks done because you have to put it through multiple shots and it's going to produce those 15 errors. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up the video here. If you guys haven't already liked, subscribed, and joined the BridgeMind Discord community, make sure you do. And if you have any comments or if I missed anything, let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the future.